This video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Hey photographer, Jessica Whitaker here, and in today's photography video, we will be reviewing the Sigma 24mm 1.4 art lens. In this video, we are going to be going over the pros, the cons, the price point, if it's actually worth that price tag. We're going to talk about some practical specs, example photographs with the lens. We'll cover focusing and any focusing problems it might have. We're going to cover it all from a practical perspective. If you're interested in learning photography in a clear-cut way that skips the technical jargon, be sure to hit subscribe to be notified when a new tutorial for your photography business comes out, because I'm here on YouTube teaching for you for free every single week. Before we get into the review, I want to thank our sponsor Squarespace for making this video possible.
A photo speaks 1,000 words, but a polished and professional portfolio can get us those $1,000 clients. Enter Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for websites and domains. Photographers, it's time to be done settling for slow-loading websites with tedious plugins. I trust Squarespace's all-in-one platform to keep me booked and busy. Pick from one of their dozens of contemporary drag-and-drop layouts, host your custom domain and email with them, and even conduct successful email campaigns. Everything you need to run a successful photography business under their umbrella and at your fingertips. You can head to squarespace.com to begin your free trial, and when you are ready to launch your beautiful professional website, you can go to squarespace.com/Jessica Whitaker to get 10% off of your first purchase of a website or a domain.
I like to begin the review videos with me sharing why I even added this lens to my collection. So the Sigma 24 lens has never really been on my mind or on my wish list to add to my pretty limited lens collection. But I love the Sigma 35 art lens, and I found myself reaching for, well, I was practically always using the Sigma 35 art lens for almost all of my shoots. It was glued to my camera, and I found myself really using it for those wide shots where you're wanting to incorporate a lot of landscape. And in New York City, especially where I was doing most of my shoots at the time, I was trying to highlight as much of the city environment as possible, and I found that I was just kind of becoming a little bit limited with my 35 in terms of what I was able to capture because I wanted those really wide shots. So I was on Twitter one night, and one of my Twitter friends, Allegra, was selling her Sigma 24 practically new. She said she barely really used it, basically just wanted to clear it out to make room for something that she would get more use out of, and I bought it from her for $600. We'll talk about the price point later on in the video and if you were to buy it new, but I do want to say that I'm a huge advocate for buying used lenses. It's not only a great way to get a cheaper deal, but it's also so much better on the environment. If you're looking to buy used outside of your own friend circle, you need to go to a reliable source to purchase. Don't buy from Facebook Marketplace or a random Instagram story. I bought from Allegra because I know and I trust her, and I know that she takes care of her gear. Do you see my point? So if you are interested in buying new, I recommend KEH Camera. I'm going to have them linked down below. I've partnered with them before on many videos, and I've used them before I even was partnered, and they are quality inspected. You know exactly what you're buying. All that to say, used lenses don't mean that they're old. They don't mean that they're barely working in bad condition. They've been, through the rain, storms, and the glass is shattering. It usually just means that somebody's looking to clear it out from their collection because they didn't use it enough. Just make sure if you're buying used, you're buying it from somebody that you know and trust, or buying it somewhere like KEH where it's quality inspected. You're not taking a gamble on what you're actually putting your money towards. Let's go into some practical specs. I'm going to have the listing for this lens linked down below, and there you will be able to find all of the technical specs, the ins and the outs. So if you have a specific question about something, it should be in that listing. Number one is the aperture range. It goes from 1.4 up to f/16. The lens is heavy. It's 1.4 pounds. It's definitely going to add even more weight to your already probably bulky camera. Lastly, for specs, this does not have image stabilization. Next up, let's talk about the focusing. There are lots and lots of focusing issues with its counterpart, I guess, the one step up, the Sigma 35mm 1.4 art lens. lots of people have lots of issues with it focusing, and I addressed that in my Sigma 35 art review video you can watch in the iCard if you're interested. I think that focusing on this lens is great. I haven't had any problems, and I haven't seen anybody else really complain about focusing issues with this lens. I run one of Facebook's largest and most engaged photography communities. It's called Build and Bloom. If you're interested in joining, it's free. It's encouraging kind photographers. That to say, there's tons of posts in Build and Bloom about focusing issues with the Sigma 35, but I haven't really seen any in the 4 years that we've had Build and Bloom. I haven't seen much about the Sigma 24. Manual focus is great, actually. I would say that this is the smoothest manual focus of all of my lenses. So the smoother, in my opinion, that the ring is, the easier it is to nail that manual focus, especially when you combine it with something like shooting in live view mode. So live view is basically a button that you'll click on the back of your camera so that instead of looking through the viewfinder, the screen becomes the viewfinder, and it's much larger and easier to see and to get that focus precise. Let's talk about focusing speed. I think that in daylight, this is pretty fast. I don't really have any issues with it kind of missing focus so much. You know, as long as you are using your camera properly, you know where to put the focus points, you are on the correct shutter speed, you shouldn't have really any problems with a kind of delay in focus. And in low light, I would say that it's pretty moderate as well, even as if you don't have it just on 1.4. And I said this in my Sigma 35 video, I believe, or maybe it was the 50mm. I have been doing a few reviews. I could do more if you like these, but you know, sometimes the focusing issues are not because of the lens. It could be because you don't have your camera fully set up properly, whether it's overall properly, maybe there's something kind of disconnected in the camera that you haven't flipped the switch on, or maybe you don't have the appropriate settings for the lighting situation. So I think it's very easy to be frustrated and write off a lens completely and blame it on the lens when it just might be your camera and you not having that relationship develop further. So I would say overall, focusing issues, no, haven't seen any, haven't experienced that emotion before with this lens. Pretty fast, very sharp, great and manual, no complaints here. Let's talk about video. And I want to start by saying I'm not a videographer, but I have been doing and creating YouTube videos since 2016, and I've tried to kind of educate myself on video as much as I can as it's relevant to me and what I create, which is sit-down review videos and behind the scenes where we're out and about, you know, the camera's moving, and I found what lenses I like. I found the system that I prefer, and I really like the Sigma 24 for video. Now, if you're a videographer, I want to know from you in the comments, would you rather have a zoom lens that starts at 24, so maybe the 24 to 70 or 24 to 104, or do you like the prime lens element of it? The reason why I like it for video personally is I'll use this in vlogs, or I'll use this in behind the scenes videos when I want a lot of the environment. I love the way that it also gives this lifestyle feel to vlogs. It captures more in the frame. It almost reminds you of if you're doing an iPhone horizontal video where you capture everything. It feels a lot more welcoming. It feels like you're in the environment versus something a bit tighter. Even the 35, it does give a different feel to your videos. I know that's not the most professional way of saying it, but I'm not a professional videographer, and that's my experience with it. However, if you are starting a YouTube channel, I don't think that the 24 is necessary to begin with. I think the 35 by far, actually, I don't think I know, is my favorite for video, and you might be better off with a 35, and that lens can be a bit more versatile. Now, before we go into price, let's talk about versatility of this lens. I usually save this for last, but I think it's the best here. This lens is not versatile at all. Therefore, it's not always going to be worth the price for some of you watching, honestly. Was it worth the price for me? Yes, because I bought it used. $600 is still $600. I'm not going to dismiss that. But I have been able to kind of pay it off, if you will, over the past year of using it. I've definitely gotten my cost per use out of this lens. I use it in enough YouTube videos. I use it in the style of photography that I like, which usually is very wide portrait shots, a lot of environment, whether that's the city in New York or, Washington, more scenic scapes, Washington State. I have gotten my use out of it. However, if you are maybe starting out in photography, or you're a few years down the line, but you're mostly doing portrait photography, maybe you're shooting a lifestyle for bloggers, maybe you're doing product, I don't think that this lens might be the best investment for you if you're kind of tied between 2 or 3 options, you have a limited budget. I wouldn't say go for this. It's a very particular focal length, and I would really encourage anybody to try out a 24mm lens. It doesn't have to be the Sigma, it could be a Canon, it could be a Canon zoom lens. Just before you make a purchase, whether it's new or used, to see if you like the focal length, because it is very wide. It's not like fisheye lens wide vibes where it's distorted, but there is a lot of distortion. We can even touch on that right now. So there is a lot of distortion, and you are able to fix it later in post-processing. So distortion is essentially where the 4 corners of your image are curved in, and you click, in Lightroom at least, fix lens distortion. You click that box, and then the image kind of pops out and flattens, and it gets rid of that distortion. Distortions can sometimes be really, really cool, but because of how wide this lens is, it doesn't really work that well for portrait photography because of the distortion. Now, I did do a behind the scenes video. I'll have linked down below, as well as on an iCard here, where we did a portrait photo shoot with only the 24mm. We did wide shots and then also close-up portraits, horizontal, vertical, and I show you how you can still shoot portraits with this lens, but there are a lot of things you have to be very conscious of to keep it flattering. This lens is not a portrait lens. It's not. Technically, a portrait lens is like 85mm. This is 24. But when used right, when you break those rules of it's not a portrait lens, it can look really sick. But there are some guidelines that I recommend to follow to keep it nice and flattering. So check out that 24mm behind the scenes video down below. I also have a video where I compare the 24mm against a 35mm. It's a pretty recent video. That will be down below, as well as in the iCard. And if you're trying to decide between those 2 focal lengths, you probably want to watch that video. In terms of chromatic aberration, we're kind of all over the place in this area, but I hope that you're tracking with me. I don't think chromatic aberration is too bad. Chromatic aberration is essentially where there's kind of a magenta fringe around some of the elements in your images, particularly if, let's say, you have a white overcast sky and then you have a tree with no leaves on it. The branches of the tree might have that magenta fringing around them. This lens doesn't really have it very bad, in my opinion, that I've experienced, and it is something that you can fix in post-processing. It's just kind of annoying to have to fix. Tying it all together, this lens isn't the most versatile. I use it mostly for the videos in the wide shots. I think it's a fun lens to have, but is it necessary? No. And would I have bought this if it wasn't on Twitter for $600? Basically new? I probably wouldn't have, honestly, but I'm really thankful that I have it. And something with me is I don't think that you have to have a lot of lenses in your collection or, 3 camera bodies. I work with 1 camera body. I don't think that you have to have a ton of gear to be a professional photographer, but that's also personal preference with what I want to spend my money on. Do I want to put it into more lenses, or would I rather put it into other areas of my business or other areas of my life, like traveling? Everybody's gonna have personal preference, and one's not better than the other, but I do think that it's good to highlight, especially when it comes to review videos or even just photography videos in general. It's easy to have a consumer mindset that we have to have more and more to be better and to expand and to scale our business, and that's simply not true. You don't have to have 10 lenses. It's not necessary, but I would say for me overall, so glad I have it. I'm really, really thankful that I do, but I don't think it's necessary. I really don't. I think a better way for you to gauge even more if this lens would be a good fit for you is through my example photos. So I'm gonna have them down in the description box below in a blog post format so you can really scroll through, take in the art, but truly kind of evaluate the images. I'm going to try to have some really solid sample ones up there for you to kind of look at and see, and I think that will be a great way for you to decide if this is something you're interested in adding to your collection and truly see what I use this for. I think just blog is much simpler than 10 seconds on a YouTube video screen. Lastly, let's talk about pricing. Let's end the review video talking about the price of this lens. Like I said at the beginning, I bought this for $600 used from my friend on Twitter, like new, great deal. I even pulled up like the PayPal receipt. It was $600 outside of shipping for her. On B&H Photo, I looked up this lens if you were to buy new, and it's about $840. So if you are interested in buying this lens at all, and you're kind of in the same place of me, like I'm not really gonna use it that often, I would then really encourage you to buy it used. A lot of the times, like if I can tell you and be real with you, buying new lenses isn't always necessary. It doesn't necessarily add value. If you are going to go through something like KEH, that's quality inspected, or a friend that you know and trust and treats their gear and equipment with respect and gently, if you will, then there's not really any reason to shell out an extra $200 or $300 when you can buy something used. I do think that the $600 price point is fair for what I purchased, and $840 I think is a lot, just in general. I mean, both of those are all expensive, like don't get me wrong, it's still $800 and $600, but I wouldn't pay $800 for this lens. $600, $500 is kind of like the max of what I would do. Any more to me, I'd probably want to put that money into something else. I'm curious to know from you down in the comments, what do you think about the 24mm from Sigma, or just the 24mm focal length in general? Whether you're going to buy this lens or not, let me know in the comments below, like roast it or praise it. I'm curious because I don't really see the 24 focal length talked about often. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell notification if you want to receive a new tutorial for you and your photography business in your inbox every single week. I teach here on YouTube. I also have my photography Facebook group community, which is one of the platform's largest and most engaged photography groups, full of kind, encouraging photographers. You can also listen to the Build and Bloom Photography podcast on your preferred platform if you want to learn more about the business behind photography. If you love the way that I teach and you want to take it one step further, I'm going to have my online photography business workshop linked down below. It's 6.5 hours long with 10 chapters that cover how to start and scale a photography business in your own backyard. We cover pricing, we cover workflow, and how I'm able to deliver my images to clients in under 48 hours, therefore able to raise my prices even higher. We cover customer service, and I bring you behind the scenes on a full photo shoot in Washington Square Park in New York City. It's such an amazing resource, and it's blessed so many photographers across the globe. So if you're interested, click the link in the description box below or head to jessicawhitaker.co/workshop. With that being said, I believe in you, I believe in your business, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.